Hi everyone, it's me Catherine, and today I'm here to bring you a book haul, something I don't really tend to do, and I can't remember the last time I actually did one. It was years ago, because I don't really buy books all that much anymore. Like, my book buying has definitely calmed down a lot over the years because A, I don't read. Like, I sort of fell out of reading for a bit, and when I got back into reading again recently, I tend to use my library where I can, and if not I tend to just pick them up secondhand online, just a book here or there, nothing like in bulk. But I recently discovered there was a bookshop that opened up in town. I live in Sheffield, and there's a little side street called Chapel Walk that I haven't been down for, I want to say, years, not with any sort of purpose, because the last thing, there used to be a Superdrug on there that I used to go to. That closed down years ago and moved further up, so I never really had any reason to go down there, so I haven't been down. I hadn't noticed that a bookshop had like made its home down there, called Juno's Books, called Juno Books, and it is a queer and intersectional feminist bookshop in Sheffield, obviously, just reading the description. And it's it's a small place. It's not really big, like it's just a little small independent bookshop that I found completely by accident while trying to look up the name of another bookshop in Sheffield that I couldn't recall the name of. And so I just put in Sheffield bookshops and that popped up, and I was like, how long has that been on Chapel Walk? Because if it's there, I may have to go spend my Christmas money. I'm gonna have to go check this out, because like I said, it's only small, so like they don't have like massive amounts of books, but they have a nice range of books there. So when I went, I had a look, and obviously I spent a bit of money, and I just want to share with you what I got. I don't tend to do book hauls because mostly book hauls are, hey, I bought this book, I don't know what it's about, blah 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 blah, but I kind of just wanted to do it just because I was really excited that I found this bookshop, and I wanted to tell you I found this bookshop, and then I'm going to show you what I bought from this bookshop because I am excited. Okay, I haven't been this excited about reading in a long time, because my hobbies, I don't know if I've ever mentioned, my hobbies are like cyclical. So if I go through periods of not reading, I don't really worry too much. I don't panic like, oh no, I'm not reading, blah 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 blah, because my hobbies, I go through cycles of hobbies. Like, I will be obsessed with the hobby for like a period of time. It differs in length, that period, and then eventually I will stop and move on to something else and become obsessed with that for a bit. But I always come back round to my hobbies, so I just go round them, and it's back round to my reading again, and I'm very 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 excited about that. Although I say, actually, the reading never went away. I was just reading fan fiction. I couldn't bring myself to read non-fan fiction works, but yeah. But anyway, I'm really excited, so I want to share what I got. So let's start with the one that I bought that I already have read. I picked up Minor Detail by Adanya Shibley, translated by Elizabeth Jaquette. I borrowed this from my library, potentially. I think it was a library borrow, this one. I borrowed this from the library. It's very short. This book is in two parts. So the first half is sort of I would say like it's a fictional retelling of a very real event that happened in the summer of 1949. Israeli soldiers capture and rape a young Palestinian woman, kill and bury her in the sand. It's a really, I mean, it's really horrible, obviously, as you can imagine. And then the second half is set years later, when a woman hears about this story and for some reason just sort of like just grabs onto it and cannot let it go, and she wants to investigate it, and she is living in occupied Palestine, and we see her sort of everyday life and how she goes through her life, and then we see her, she goes on a road trip to investigate this incident that happened, this murder, and she takes you on like a road trip through occupied Palestine and talks about like the changes and things. And I didn't personally check, but I think you can follow along with her. She's going through very real roads, and you can follow along with her on like Google Maps or, you know, an online mapping thing. And it's, like I say, real short, ends very abruptly, and it's like a real gut punch. It is, I'm not going to do a whole review here because I do plan to do an actual separate review for this. This is one of the books I am planning to review from what I read last year, so I just really wanted to get hold of a physical copy so that I could actually read through it and I'm not under any sort of time limit and I can make notes and things on it because it is mine, so I'm really happy about that. Next is Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. I have had to put a little bit of sparkly tape on because it has a little quote on it from a certain author that we don't talk about anymore because he has done horrific things. But the book itself, obviously, Howl's Moving Castle, everyone knows Howl's Moving Castle, we know the Ghibli movie, this is the book that it's based on, and I have heard so many things about how it's so different, how the vibes are different, the relationship between Sophie and Howl is different, and I just want to read it. And also, the cover is, I mean, it's a little damaged here, but the cover is, I don't know who, cover art by Josie, is it Josie Shimazaki? And it's so cute, like look at that, I love the colour palette, I love the style of it, it's just adorable, and I'm very excited to read it. Another one that I've heard lots of things about and been wanting to read for a long time, and it is This Is How You Lose a Time War by Amal El Matar and Max Gladstone. And this is about two time travel agents who fall in love. Honestly, I don't really know, I don't really remember much about it, but I just remember time travel agents falling in love. I don't know if it's like they leave notes for each other, I don't know if they're on opposite sides, I can't remember much of anything, but a lot of people read this and really enjoyed it, really recommended it, and I am very excited to get to it. So there's that one. Those are the books that I had either already read or I've heard of and have been wanting to read for a long time, and these are some new books that I hadn't heard of to try. So the first one is The Emperor's Babe by Bernardine Evaristo. Last year I read Girl, Woman, Other, and this one is completely different. It is told in verse for a start, which I'm not super into verse, but after reading The Poet X, I kind of want to give more books written in verse a try. It's also set a long time before Girl, Woman, Other, in AD 211, about a teenage bride with no idea about true love. And then she catches the eye of the most powerful man on earth and trouble really starts. It's set in Londinium and the guy she catches the eye of is Emperor Septimus, so I'm guessing Roman is what we're looking at here. And I am excited because I really enjoyed Girl, Woman, Other, and I'm very interested to read more, especially because it's in verse. I'm trying to broaden my horizons. I'm just trying to like broaden the things, like widen the things that I read and like delve into things I don't tend to pick up. So verse, The Poet X really got me intrigued to see if maybe I might like other things written in verse or whether it's just like that one in particular, so I'm excited to read that. Then we have The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. This is set on an island where things get disappeared. Yeah, they get disappeared and people forget about them, and they get handed over to the memory police, and then everybody just sort of forgets what happens. But somebody, so we got a young novelist and her editor. Her editor, for some reason, is not forgetting things, so he's in real danger of being handed over to the memory police because he's finding it increasingly difficult to hide the fact that he has not forgotten any of the things that he should have forgotten. And she is going, I'm assuming she's going to do her best to save him because she desperately wants to save him. So I think it'd be interesting to read. And then we have Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop by Huang Borum, translated by Shanna Tan. Wait, who is this one translated by? Sorry. Translated by Stephen Snyder. So this one is translated by Shanna Tan, and this is about a woman who did everything she should have done. She went to university, got a good husband, got a respectable job, and then things didn't go right, and she quits everything and opens a bookshop. And I think that's basically it. It's just her running this bookshop and about the customers that come to the bookshop to take refuge there. And to be honest, I would love to read something like this. A balm for the soul and a glorious love letter to books and reading. I just feel like this would be really nice. Like, I feel like it's one of those books where nothing happens. And yeah, I just think it'd be really a really cool read. And then the last one is a non-fiction book. I don't go for non-fiction because I find it very hard to read a lot of non-fiction, because I consume my non-fiction in bits and pieces. That's the best way I can. So I need to have a book that's written in pieces so I can go in, pick a bit of it up, any bit of it, so I could open it, find a section, read that, and then that's it, come back another time if I want to read a bit of it, more of it. I don't know if this is exactly going to happen like that, but it is written in lots of different sections, and it is Queer as Folklore by Sasha Coward. I hadn't heard of this. At all. It is a Sunday Times bestseller, The Hidden Queer History of Myths and Monsters. So basically, ooh, I got a free bookmark. Queer as Folklore is an exhilarating journey across centuries and continents which reveals the unsung heroes and villains of storytelling, magic and fantasy. Featuring images from archives, galleries and museums around the world, each chapter investigates the queer history of different mythic and folkloric characters, both old and new. So as someone who's very interested in myths and monsters and like mythical creatures and folklore and things like that, and someone who is queer, I want to try this, and it looks like it is. I can just like go to the contents, pick a section that I want to read, because they don't look to be very long sections, because the sections themselves, the parts are then split into different pieces. So I feel like this is something I can just dip in and out of whenever I want without having to keep in mind the things that I've read, because again with non-fiction I will forget. So I'll come back to reread over and over again, but I will probably forget a lot of the information that I read. So I'm kind of very interested to pick that up. So yeah, so those are the books that I bought from this little bookshop, and I definitely going to add it to my list of places that I go to in town, which is not very many. I usually go to Superdrug to pick all of my toiletry bits, and then I'm going to the art shop. That is literally the only two places I ever go to when I go to town, and now I have a third place to go, little bookshop to go and just, you know, maybe have a little browse. I don't know how often I'll go. I'll try not to go too often because I can't afford to keep buying books, and I don't have space to keep buying books, but yeah. So there we go, just a little book haul that out of nowhere. Impromptu book haul to take up time in my day that I don't have, but I wanted to do it anyway because I wanted to share these things. I'm excited. I found a new bookshop because whenever I try to find like independent bookshops in Sheffield, they're usually quite a bit out of my way. As someone who doesn't drive, I rely on public transport, I have to then figure out how I'm going to get to that place, and so having one actually in town, which is only a bus ride away from me, is very nice. And I think the other shop that I eventually, the La Biblioteca, I think it was, I think they have their own actual store now. They used to run out of Commune, I don't really know what Commune was. I went there to get food once, so that it's a food place to me, but I don't know if that's actually what it is. But they have their own store now, and I don't know where they moved to, so that's why I was trying to look up, and then I found Juno, so I need to look that up and see where they are now. But yeah, so this is my little book haul, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy about it. Now to actually do work. Self-inflicted work I want to do, but it's still work nonetheless. So it's eating time out of my day when time I could spend reading, but this is for later. So